Happy you're here. And welcome to Tracy too.
Okay, so just to start things off, the reason that we decided to do a webinar on this topic is because a couple of weeks ago, I was assisting Kaylee and Stefan with their virtual design presentation webinar. And my very minor contribution to that topic was to create a design board to go along with the design package that they were going to be using as an example. So I created one in PowerPoint, as I have done many times before. And we had such great feedback on it and so many questions about how I created it that we decided we should show you guys how simple it is to do it yourself. So this was the design board that we used in that webinar. And honestly, all you need is PowerPoint. You need the internet, of course, and some kind of screenshotting tool. So we're going to talk about options for that screenshotting tool a little bit later. And at the very end of this presentation, I have kind of a resources section that lists some different options for everything that I'm going to go through with you today. So I have used PowerPoint quite a bit over the last number of years, specifically for creating training presentations, because in terms of formatting and design, I find it is the simplest way to arrange, rearrange, resize, crop, and place items onto a screen however you want it. So I'm curious, I'm going to ask you guys a question. So please answer either in the chat or by checking yes or no in the participants box. But how many of you have created a digital design board before? And if you have, what program did you use to do that? Yesterday we had some people say that they used Word, which no offense to anyone, but Word is like the least user-friendly option for doing something like this. Others have used Publisher. We actually had one lady tell us that she uses something called, now I'm gonna forget what I actually called it, Steph.
Yeah, me too. It's like Mo something.
Yeah, My Domo or My Doma Studio or something like that.
Yeah,
I have it listed at, I have it there, Margaret. Margaret's, she's nodding, so I think I'm right. I do have it listed at the very end as well. But so I'm always interested to see what other people use.
So we do have a couple of answers already. Kat hasn't done any yet as of now. Tracy, neither. Margaret has not. Also, Christopher, Shannon, Patty, yes. She used PowerPoint and says, even I can use it. So that's pretty good. Sari has used PowerPoint to share with others, not in the presentation yet. Lynn has. I don't know, Lynn, what software you've used to do mood boards. If you want to add it on, would love to read that. And Diana just started using PowerPoint for design presentation. She loves it. Patty sold a job in Australia using PowerPoint. Wow, that's nice. Woo, Australia, that's close by.
Very nice.
And Tricia has struggled using Word for a while, and she's looking for stopping the madness. We'll help you out, Tricia.
I honestly, Word is not user-friendly for doing something like this. It is for words, not for pictures or designing anything. So PowerPoint is much more user-friendly in that aspect. So I mentioned that I have used it specifically for doing training presentations, but really now I use it for all sorts of documents just because I am very familiar with it. So it's just easier for me. And as a designer, we all like things to look a certain way, have a specific aesthetic, and I find PowerPoint makes it really easy to achieve that. So there is often some debate internally for us and externally as well, whether they should be called mood boards versus design boards. So I'm curious what term you guys use, if either one of those. Do you call them mood boards? Do you call them design boards?
So fire it off in the chat button right at the bottom of the screen. Kristen uses design board, as does Sari, Shannon, Tracy.
Okay. I'm with you guys.
Lynn.
100% with you. And no offense to people that use the term mood board either, because to me, they both are correct, but they're two different but similar things. So a mood board really is a collection of images, concepts, quotes, words that create a feeling or a mood. So to me, this is something that designers can do for their customers prior to a project, or that customers create themselves to help kind of understand the aesthetic that they're wanting to achieve with their project. So, for example, this is a design board. It's a collection of materials plus like inspirational images, words that kind of achieve that feeling that they want with their space. This is another example. Whereas a design board is more of a collection of selected materials and elements that are specific to a design. So this is something that typically would be created and presented with a design package to go along with floor plans and renderings and elevations, etc. So it's kind of a digital version of laying out all of the samples on a table, which we're not all able to do right now.
Yeah, and just to complement and add to that, Patty was saying, I think there should be a mood board within the design presentation. That's a cool thing. And yep. Tricia also uses more designed. I like Diana's comment, what if I'm in a bad mood? Design board is for me. Love it. And Patty says it's a great way to use some of their inspiration image within the presentation to show you might be listening.
Yep, I 100% agree. I still, now I have not been an active selling kitchen designer for a few years now, basically 6 years. But before I came on board with Cabico, I still had a lot of homeowners sharing their Pinterest boards or sharing their house collections with me so that I could understand what they're looking for. So absolutely, if they're sharing things with you, then use those to help create a mood board and kind of help maybe narrow down their specific tastes. So this is a very simple design board. This is another fairly simple design board, but has a few more elements in it. So really you can decide what elements you would like to include in your design board. In this case, we have a specific door style in 3 different finishes. We have a countertop back here along with some lighting fixtures, cabinet hardware, flooring. This is actually an area rug, island stools, and an accent mullion door. So this specific design board was created for this specific kitchen. So here we have that flooring shown. We have the cabinets in those 3 different finishes. We've got the light fixtures, we have the island stools, and the area rug in the eating area as well. Marco, you know whose kitchen this is, right?
I was going to ask that, Marco. No?
You don't?
No, don't recognize that.
Oh.
Seriously.
As long as everyone promises not to go around telling everyone, this is actually Elaine, our owner's kitchen. And it is an Elmwood series kitchen. They did a kitchen renovation, I think in 2017.
Yep.
It's one of my favorite kitchens, which is why I included it in here.
So it's just a secret between you and us now.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, there's already questions in there. People are already asking how to do certain things. So Diana was asking, how do you superimpose the lights handles over other images? And rest assured, Diana, she will show you how to do that.
That is, and I see what you're asking. Let me just jump back for a second. Superimposing items over top of something else. That's one of the key reasons that I love using PowerPoint. Because whether you do this in the snipping tool or the screenshot tool that you use or in PowerPoint, you can usually, for most images, remove the background and set it as transparent. So although these are actually sitting on top of a countertop sample, if I just go to that page, you can see the size of that image, and we've just removed the background from it. So we will show you exactly how to do that in just a couple of minutes. Were there other questions, Stefan, or that's it so far?
It's so far, but I know people are eager to see how you work that magic.
Okay, so before I dive into how to actually do it, one of the things that I have done to make it simpler to create a mood board or a design board is to create an image gallery. So I have a folder that is called design boards, or you can call it design images or whatever you would like to. And I have saved a number of different door styles and finishes. You can also do backsplashes, hardware, flooring, fixtures. You can do furnitures, decorative accessories, and things like that. Really, any image that you would like to. Typically, you will have certain design elements that are trendy or popular in your area or your market that you'll be using over and over again, which is why it's really handy to just have them saved in a gallery. Then you can just grab those images from your gallery rather than going onto the internet and searching them out there. So I have one folder for Elmwood doors and finishes. I have another folder for unique doors and finishes. That's what's shown here. And I typically just name them by the finish and the door style so that I know exactly what they are. And if I don't see what I am looking for in my image gallery already, then I would go to our spectrum and I would find what I was looking for there or the closest match. You may not always find the door profile in the finish that you're wanting. So you may have to specify this is the door profile. These are the different finishes. But I will go into the spectrum, I'll screenshot them and save it to my image gallery so that I can use it again in the future as well as right now.
Now keep in mind too, Jessica I will actually put this presentation in the chat so you can download and reuse whatever image she already put in there. Use
Correct.
the fonts that you like in there. Change anything you want. It will really be yours afterwards.
Yep. Excellent, excellent point, Steph. Thanks for mentioning that. So when creating design boards or mood boards, There's lots of great places that you can go for inspirational content. But honestly, Pinterest tends to be the most popular because it's fairly easy to search black and white kitchens and then get an array of beautiful two-tone kitchens. And you can usually narrow it down by kind of design style as well, whether it's contemporary or traditional, transitional, whatever you're looking for. I know Instagram is getting to be a lot bigger of a resource for those types of things as well. So you can search things by hashtag and screenshot them, save them there as well. If you are looking for something specific, like maybe a specific countertop, there's two different things that you could do. You could just Google that countertop. For example, I think the one that I had used in Elaine's Kitchen's design board was Opera by Decton. So you could go onto Google Images and search Opera by Decton. I sometimes find Google Images to be a little bit easier than going directly to the product website because you'll have multiple different images or options to choose from to include. But that being said, going directly to the product websites is a great spot as well, whether it is product specific like Decton or like Cambria or going to Kohler or Amarok or something like that. Also, if you are looking for more like generalized options, websites like Wayfair or Houzz are great options as well because they do have a lot of selection of images that you can quickly just screenshot or save and then add to your design board or your mood board, depending on what you're creating. Another thing that I have done is I downloaded additional fonts. So the Microsoft Suite has a lot of fonts, some really great ones, but I find it lacks specifically in like script fonts or cursive fonts. So I have downloaded a number of different ones. My favorite being Golden Plains, which I've used on the title blocks here and throughout this whole thing. I always search for free fonts because I don't really want to pay for any of them. And yesterday in our session, we had some people recommend two different websites that you can use. One is dafont.com. And again, this is noted at the very end of this presentation. So you can take notes now if you want to, but it will be in the presentation that Stefan drops in the chat. So Dafont or 1001 free fonts. Now, I'm curious, I see Steph has something to say, but before that, I'm curious if anyone has previously downloaded external fonts and added them to your computer before.
A lot of heads nodding no.
I see.
Kat
No.
has.
Okay.
Margaret, too.
Margaret was nodding. Yep.
And Lynn, no. Sari, no. And a lot of our faces, no. So I'd say a minority of the group has installed some. Patty says, keep it simple, stupid. Kiss.
I mean, it's true. You absolutely don't have to do this, but as a designer, I don't like to be limited. I like to be able to choose any type of design that I would like to. So I searched out some additional fonts, and the first time I did this was a few years ago to find the, I'm going to go and find it now. The News Gothic standard font. And I sought that one out specifically because it is one of the Cabico fonts listed in our brand guidelines. So I wanted to start using it for my presentations. Mm-hmm. So I used my best friend Google and sought out this font and then Googled, how do you install a new font? And it was 1,000% easier than I ever thought that it was going to be. You honestly download the font and save it somewhere on your computer. Just give me 1 second and I'm going to drag my Explorer over to this page. So this is my design boards folder, and I've got Essence, I've got Unique, I have one just for fonts. So you can see here that I have a number of different fonts that I have downloaded. And so once you save it to your computer, you go into your computer settings and you can just search fonts. Go to font settings, and right here it says add fonts, drag and drop to install. So you can pull up your little file explorer and you can grab one of these and drag and drop it right here, and then it's installed. And next time you go into your program, then it's going to be listed in here. So here is my Golden Plains, and here is my News Gothic Standard. So now that I've started getting new fonts, I feel like it's kind of addicting and I just want to find the coolest fonts. So I've listed a few of my favorites here, specifically the script fonts. But the two websites that we have mentioned, you can go there and find all sorts of different fonts if you would like to. Or you don't have to do this at all. You can keep it simple and just use the standard ones in the program.
Jessica, Lynn had a question about using images from Pinterest and the other social media network. Is there a need to be concerned with copyright issues if taking those photos and reusing them?
Well, technically, no. You're not selling these images as your own. If you are using someone else's kitchen designs, you may want to give photo credit to where you got it from, but pretty much everything is on the internet and you can screenshot it and use it in your own presentations as long as you're not using it for commercial use or trying to pass it off on your own. I think it's okay, but maybe Stefan should answer that question.
Well, there's a gray zone in there. So you have to be somewhat careful. I think, and it depends on the jurisdiction. Canadian laws, American laws, state laws can be a little different here and there. So I don't want to hazard a guess in that something does not apply in your specific state. But generally speaking, the general idea that you gave is pretty much the same as I have. Is we're not selling these pictures. We're actually using these pictures to give an idea, and we're selling actual cabinetry afterwards. So I would fairly be comfortable with that, but I would always be cognizant of not using those in marketing material.
Correct. Yeah, it's definitely not for marketing material. It's for individual presentations. But in terms of creating like inspirational boards, yeah, as long as you're not trying to pass it off as your own or take credit for somebody else's work, then it's a very light gray zone. So we have a few examples of the design board that I originally created for Stefan and Kaylee. This again is what it looked like. But if you wanted to do just a visual version of this without the text on it, then that's fine as well. And I'll show you exactly how to do that in a second. One of the recommendations that we got yesterday was to show a design board that had a rendering in it. So then we've kind of taken the same thing, reformatted it a little bit to include the rendering. And then again, you could add that text back if you wanted. You could change the flooring to be the specific type and finish of flooring. You could change the main cabinetry to be pure white, and this accent to be bronze on walnut, and this one to be dune. You could switch out the hardware to be the actual Amarok hardware model that I had put here, and then same with the countertops and the backsplash. So again, it kind of comes down to what items you would like to include in your design boards. So we have a few templates here for you. Some very kind of simple and a little bit more traditional using a script font, but again, this here is just a text box. So you could change it from the Quinton font that I had selected to Papyrus or whatever you would like. All of these kind of grid lines were just added as shapes onto my board. So if I start a new slide, I can insert a shape. Here's all of the shapes that you can choose from. But really, I just want to use a line. So I can add a line here. I can change it to be a different color if I would like to. I can add some effects like a special shadow or anything like that, some type of reflection. There's all sorts of things that you could do. Then I could right click and copy and paste this. I could grab the end of it and kind of swing it around to be horizontal and place it wherever I would like. So that's how I created these grid lines. And depending on what elements you would like to include in your design board, you can add or remove additional lines. Originally, I actually just had one large section on both ends of this design board where I had a larger picture of the countertop and a larger piece of the flooring, but then I decided, hey, let's add a faucet and a sink as well. So it just kind of depends on what elements you want to include or what elements are included in your scope of project. So some designers deal only with cabinetry, hardware, and countertops. Others deal with the entire scope. So you may be including all of the plumbing fixtures as well as the light fixtures. You may be including interior door hardware and things like that. So you really can just build your own, use these as a template and adjust it as necessary.
Now, Patty shared a comment with us. She said, I would suggest that you put your company logo on your presentations. Use this as your starting template. So all your presentations should start with the same platform. Excellent.
Absolutely. I think that's a fantastic idea. You can have your logo. I know that I've got mine on some of these pages, but not on the design board pages. And if I wanted to, I can insert a photo, and I am gonna go to my folder where I have logos saved and insert my Cabico logo. So it automatically, anytime you insert a photo, it's just gonna put it, it's just gonna center it on your page. It's very large, obviously, but I can very simply resize it, either just by grabbing one of the corners, or if you have your image highlighted, then in the top section, it has a little crop button, but it also has some metric dimensions So I could shrink this down to 2.5 centimeters. That's still pretty big. So I could take it down even smaller and go and place it wherever I would like. You could even create your own designed by Jessica Smalley and include that as well.
So Christopher just
again,
awarded Patty 10 points. Now Christopher usurped my authority of giving out points, but he did it rightfully. So a point for you, Christopher, for awarding Patty 10 points.
Wow, you're really generous with the points today. I love it. But no, Patty she deserves at least 10 points for sure. Because I think that is a great idea. It's promoting yourself and kind of putting your own stamp on things. So if I wanted to maybe create one that had the Cabico logo and said designed by Jessica, there's kind of two things that I could do. I could just add a little text box. I typically just copy one of the text box that I already have. And I'll drag it up here.
One of the cool things that modern versions of PowerPoint does is actually snaps. It'll figure out, even if your box is not the same as the other box, it'll figure out what's the actual middle spot and it'll snap in. So it makes that design work much easier.
So I have that, and I could copy both of these together, and I could paste them on any page that I wanted. Another thing that you could do is, I'm just going to delete these grid lines. You could increase the sizes of them. This I'm going to change, make it substantially bigger. And then just like I would screenshot maybe a door style from the spectrum, I'm going to screenshot this page. Of course, because I have two different sized monitors on two different resolutions, it kind of
skews it a little bit.
Yeah, skews it a little bit. So I'm just going a little bit by guess here, but I'm going to screenshot it. The snipping tool that I use is called Snagit, and I love it. This is a paid screenshot tool. There are other free versions. There is one that comes standard with your PC, I think, called Snipping Tool.
Yep. It's going to be called Snip and Sketch, or if it's not already Snip and Sketch, it used to be called Snipping Tool.
So I am going to crop this just by clicking on crop here. And I can also crop things in PowerPoint, but there's a reason that I'm going to do it here. So I'm going to crop this nice and tight to the logo. And then I could actually save this image as a JPEG to my design board and go logo, title. And now I could insert this created image into any page that I wanted without having each piece individually. So
Patty says that's a super nice feature. That's snapping automatically, and then to keep your margins the same from page to page.
Yep, exactly right. And then you could have maybe a specific size that you always minimized it down to, and then the same spacing each time you want it as well. One thing that you might have just noticed is as soon as I added an image, it started to give me design ideas. And as I add additional images, it will continue to do the same thing. So sometimes PowerPoint will kind of suggest some different design options for you. The more pictures, maybe the better at some times. So sometimes circular, sometimes it frames it out. There's all sorts of interesting things, that it does. I typically design my own pages, but I have used their pre-suggested templates as well.
And just to answer Diana initially, because the screenshot, she was wondering you did not use PowerPoint. No, she actually used a little piece of software, Snagit, to screenshot from PowerPoint. So that's the kind of the limitation. If you build it in PowerPoint, you can't screenshot it from PowerPoint. But you can use the one that comes from the computer. On PCs, Snagit, Snipping Tool or Snip and Sketch. On Macs, there's one I'm sure, but I don't know about it.
I don't know either. Does anybody use a Mac? And if so, do you know what the snipping tool is called? We're a pretty PC heavy group here, so we're not always aware of the Mac versions of things.
Diana said Control-Alt-4.
Oh, to bring it on a Mac. Okay. Yeah, on my PC, depending on whether I'm using my laptop keyboard or my wireless keyboard, on my laptop keyboard, I just click print screen, and then it brings up the Snagit option, and on my wireless one, I have to go like function print screen. But fairly simple. And then one of the things that I really liked about Snagit was the fact that not only can you crop, but you can also fill in things, specifically change the backgrounds to be transparent, which you also can do in PowerPoint. And that's one of the things that makes it much easier to create your design boards, is having a transparent background so that it can float in front of another image. Also, you can see here, Snagit kind of keeps a library of all of the images that I've recently screenshotted. So I could grab any one of these. I've already made the background transparent, so I could copy it and then paste it into my Snagit, or into my PowerPoint, I'm sorry.
If ever that Snagit is a more evolved tool than the regular Snip and Sketch or snipping tool is something that interests you, I just dropped a link in the chats to look. I think it's about $50 US.
Thank you, Stefan.
If you want to buy that. We would have loved to have a kickback from that, but we do not get any money if you buy Snap.
No, any of the programs and software and websites that we recommend to you, we have no real affiliation with them. We just use them, and they seem to really work for us and help us work smarter. I just wanted to like maximize this little handle so that you could see it doesn't always give you like a perfect transparent background. You might have a little bit of shadowing around the edges of things, but oftentimes once you get them on a background, you can't notice. Here you can't really notice it much, but if you went and put it on a dark background, then it is a little bit more evident. One of the things that came up yesterday was moving things forwards and backwards on your page. So the way that I have this page set up right now, I have my door styles and finishes kind of at the front of the page. They're overlaid onto the countertop, which is overlaid onto the flooring. And it takes a little bit of adjusting to get that just right sometimes, especially when you start moving things around. But what I have done is pushed the flooring to the back. And you do that simply by right-clicking and then selecting bring forward or send back. So right now it's already at the back, and then I have some text, the countertop and the door at the front. But if I bring it to the front, then it's actually at the front of the page, covering up anything else that is behind it. So again, I can just send that to the back. If I wanted to actually bring this countertop to the front, then if I bring it all the way to the front, then it's going to cover up the counters and splash. So what I really want it to do is have counters and splash at the front, and then the countertops, and then these door profiles behind. So instead of going bring to front, I'm going to click bring forward. And then one more time, I think. Yeah, and now it overlays those two doors, but I still have my counters and splash at the very front. So being able to kind of layer things really adds an interesting dimension to your design boards, and it's very, very simple just by right-clicking and choosing one of those. If I send it to the back, it will go all the way to the back, but if I just send it backwards one step, it kind of goes layer by layer. Yeah, any other questions so
yet,
far?
I wanted to ask you myself if you wanted to show how to do a snipping from directly PowerPoint and removing the background from that.
Okay. How about I am actually going to do a couple of things. I'm going to go to our spectrum. I sure have a lot of things open right now. I am going to go to our spectrum and bring, here we go. Can anyone tell me what their favorite Elmwood door profile is? The first person that tells me what their favorite Elmwood door profile is, that's the door that I'm going to select.
The race is on. Fenwick from Shannon.
Okay, Fenwick. So I can go to F, or I can search here, Fenwick. Now, I could do one of two things. I could screenshot it right from this page, or I can click on the spec page where it may have a bit bigger, easier to work with image. So I'm going to maximize it a bit. I know, again, as soon as I go screenshot, it's going to distort it a little bit. But you can see the little crosshairs circle there, and it kind of blows things up. So I could go really tight to the door, but in this case, I kind of want to have a little bit of a background just to show you guys.
So this cross here, that's with Snagit.
Correct. Yes, and that's one of the other things that I like about this. So I could do one of two things. I'm first going to copy this and paste it into PowerPoint. So I'm just going to add a new slide. Sorry, I'll add a new blank slide. So I'm going to keep this here for a second. But then if I go back to Snagit, I'm on fill right now, and this is the fill color. So if I clicked on fill, it's going to make the background red. But really what I want it to do is go to transparent, which is the checkerboard option. So I'm going to do that. And now you can kind of see, if I blow it up a bit, oh, that's too much. Now you can kind of see that the background is checkerboard. So I can copy this and bring it back into PowerPoint. Just going to resize it a bit. I'll make these both the same size. And I can reformat the background. So I could make this slide black. And so now, although there's a title block at the top, now you can see that this one has a background, this one has no background. And if I wanted to get rid of that little white area, then I can just use the cropping tool in PowerPoint and minimize that down a little bit. Say voila. Any other questions about how to do something?
What I was going for, Jess, was to actually, if I don't have Snagit, how can I do it directly with PowerPoint? Do you remember?
Oh, sorry, you're right. I was going to show you that. My apologies. That's why I did two different ones. So you can also do the same thing in PowerPoint. Both Snagit and PowerPoint are good with the transparent background most of the time, but sometimes neither of them will be perfect. So you can, once you have that image highlighted, you can click on remove background. That will be in the picture format menu, which only pops up once you have a picture highlighted. And you can click remove background. So you can see it actually, everything that's in pink, it's going to remove. So that's not really what I want to do. We have this mark areas to keep or mark areas to remove. So really, I want to remove a lot. I mean, I want to keep a lot of it. So I'm going to click on mark areas to keep, and it brings up a little pencil. I tested this earlier, Stefan, so I'm actually getting kind of good at it, as long as this maybe works, but it's not going to work. Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Yeah, it depends on the image a little bit. See, now it reverted part of it back. This image was maybe not the best example. Okay, so that's most of it. Okay, there we go. So now I think we will just have the door profile or the door style and drawer front. I click OK, and there the background is gone. So it does take a little bit of fiddling around sometimes to get that background removed. But once you do, it does make a big difference for overlaying items onto other surfaces or finishes.
And that also answers Kat's previous question about how to crop with an odd shape. So you can't really crop with an odd shape, but if you do use that remove background, even if the shape is not rectangular like this one, you will get more times than not the right shape by clicking in the right spots. It's not perfect. It's actually working better with geometric shapes. So soft shapes, especially if there's not a lot of contrast between the shape and the background, has a harder time. The more contrast, the easier it is. Oh, and Patty
Yep,
says,
absolutely.
black sexy background, she likes it.
It's honestly, it's true. It definitely kind of just is like this really bold statement having a black background. It may not work with every type of finish, but even this one, I have a bit of a frame around all of the images, I think. So I could change the background to like a gray color, and that makes a big difference as well. So there's really no, well, there's not a lot of limits that you have to work in. You may have to do a little bit of playing around to achieve the look that you're working for, but there's really no rules either. So we've provided you with a few different templates. And of course, these are all just images that you can switch out. If you wanted to switch this Vienna fog to a different finish, then you could either screenshot another finish and bring that in, or you could insert another image. I technically want this to be kind of the same shape or size. So you can resize things as you would want to. And then change out the text. If you have text there, you can change out the text. So this, I think, was Portobello on walnut, and that goes to a different size font. So then I'm just going to switch it to the size font that I want to. So it's very easy to interchange things, move things around. Again, this is another one of the things that I love so much about PowerPoint, especially after hearing how many people have been using Word to do things, because again, Word is really better for letters and words than it is for images, because PowerPoint really just lets you move things around and place them however you would like to. As Stefan mentioned, it kind of spaces things accordingly at times. If I wanted this door to be centered, I think you can kind of see when I drag it into the center, it gives just a really faint red center line, and I could do the same thing vertically as well. Then I could do the same thing with this item. So it just really lets you move things around as you would like. You can, again, insert images. You can insert additional shapes. You can insert text boxes. You can very simply copy and paste items from one page to another. Oftentimes, when I am editing a PowerPoint slide, or in this case, a design board, I will typically save the original. So just create a duplicate copy so that I always have an original copy in case I change things to the point where I don't like them anymore. Then you still can go back, revert back to the original option.
So Jessica, we have a couple of questions. Shannon is asking, do you just need PowerPoint to do all of this? So
yes. So really, I have used PowerPoint and a screenshot tool. If you don't have a screenshot tool, which I mean most computers do, You typically can,
Well, there's the screenshot tool
not so much with,
within PowerPoint too.
yeah, I haven't used that before, Steph.
Yeah, but it's really simple. Just to give you another example, if you go and let's say you create a new empty slide.
Okay.
There we go. In insert, you have towards the left screenshot. Do you see that little drop down? And if you click on that, you'll give you choices of screenshotting a whole
Screen
screen
clipping.
app or do a screen clipping. Minimizes PowerPoint, goes to the previously screen you had. So there's a slight delay, and then you can screenshot or drag across. And once you release the button, you see it puts everything milky white. You will click and drag, and then you screenshot it. So even if you don't have any advanced screenshot tools like Snagit, this will do the job very, very well too. Without the additional bells and whistles, but straight from PowerPoint, you can do that. And then remove background, change colors like Jessica did.
Thank you, Steph. In addition to that, oftentimes with images online, you can right-click and save the image, or sometimes just right-click and copy the image. So for example, the decked in, I'm just using Opera again because that's at the top of my brain right now. You typically can right-click and go, save image, or even copy image. So I could just copy this right from my web browser and then paste it into my PowerPoint. So you could do this really just with PowerPoint and create an image gallery from whatever source you would like to and use those images.
And Lynn wants to know, how long does it take you to create a presentation?
Well, that depends how picky you are. Especially mood boards typically take a lot longer to kind of search for those perfect images that you want to use to create a mood. If you, for example, creating this one took a while, but mostly because I couldn't find the right light fixtures that I wanted to use. So it really just is, it kind of depends on how many different elements you're including, and how picky you are with finding those elements. This one that I had created originally for Steph and Kaylee, it honestly just took me about 15 minutes, and that really was like snipping all of the images, removing the background from the handles. Oh, that one isn't removed, but there is one somewhere that's removed. And then just kind of deciding what kind of layout I wanted to use on that page. Was there a couple other questions, Steph? Oh, you're on mute, Steph.
Sorry about that. I was talking to myself.
That's okay.
Patty did want to know how you got the suggestions to pop out again. I think she's mentioning the creative ideas.
Oh, okay. So as soon as you start to add items to a slide, it will automatically do that. I'm just going to start with a new slide.
If ever it does not, in the home tab where Jessica is right now, at the right hand corner is the button called Design Ideas. So don't do that on a blank page because you don't get much. It'll be white and white, and then white framed with white. But on any other page, it will try to give you something. If it can't, because it happened to me, kind of said you're too boring. It wasn't able to create anything. It will let you know. But Jessica's right. If you just add a picture, so text, it does not activate automatically. If you add a picture, it should. With the more recent versions, so anything 2019 or Office 365.
So of course it didn't automatically do it when I added these images. Maybe it's because I did 4 at the same time.
It's possible.
So I'm gonna try it just with a single one. I thought I was being smarter than the computer by doing 4 at the same time. Oh no, because I think I clicked stop suggesting until next time I open.
Yes, if the people get a little bit annoyed by that, you can actually say until we reopen PowerPoint, stop giving me suggestions. So that's probably what happened. And back to the previous question about how long it takes, Patty did say it depends on the amount of detail. Basic mood board and renderings, pretty quick. If adding cabinets, details with rollout trays, trash accessories per page with notes can be time consuming.
Exactly. It just really depends on the details or elements that you're wanting to include into your design board. The more aspects or design components you're including, the longer it's going to take. But yeah, see, Steph, it didn't want to do it for the page that I put 4 doors on. So I probably shouldn't have done that.
So there you go. So you know Design Ideas. So they thought you were too boring with those 4 doors at the same time.
I guess.
That's
they did.
The limitation of the software, probably because there was too much overlap. I don't know. But see here, it's right now it's having a hard time. But you've seen just
with both the door and. Sorry, go ahead, Steph.
Yeah, you've seen Jessica do it actually at the beginning of the presentation. Worked lovely. But now and then, that's still a very, very new feature. So I think they still have to iron out a couple of kinks to make it work reliably.
Just to go back to the pictures of that kitchen of Elaine's, when I added those 3 photos to a slide, it actually suggested this layout for me as well as other layouts. So I'll see if it's going to work this time with this page that it's already done, or if it's unhappy with me because I asked it to stop suggesting things.
Temperamental software now. Yeah, it's unhappy now. But I think we get.
It's mad. It's mad at me, but because I declined its services earlier, so now it's saying no, thank you. But yes, the design ideas. Oftentimes, it will lay it out very nicely, or it will even crop some of the photos into different shapes and give different maybe colors of background and borders and things like that. People within our team that do presentations use a lot of the design ideas.
Yeah, I do the same. And that's it for the questions we have for now.
Okay. Okay, well, if there aren't any other questions, I just have a couple other things that I wanted to cover. So we do have those few templates for you to use, and you can play around with them and adjust them. You can create your own, even again, if you go onto Google and search kitchen design boards or kitchen mood boards. There's all sorts of different layouts that you could replicate if you really liked them. Then just at the very end of the presentation, we've listed some of the tools. So the 2 different font websites that we talked about, Da Font and 1001 Free Fonts. Then there are some screenshot tools, paid versions and free versions. And then there was 2 different presentation tools that were mentioned on yesterday's presentation. One was My Doma Studio, and if I haven't entirely looked into this yet, but if I understand it correctly, you can create mood boards and share them directly from there with your customers. And then FlipSnack. Stefan, did you have a chance to look into FlipSnack at all?
Well, FlipSnack, I didn't have a chance to play with it, but I did give it a look. It's really creating a digital magazine with
Oh,
the
right. That's what it
document
was.
or the pictures that you want to put. So I was suggested to by a dealer.
You're right.
in this group.
Yeah, that's correct. That is correct. So those are just kind of some additional options that you too may want to explore to kind of take your design presentations up a notch and really, really impress those customers. So any other last questions before we wrap things up for today? Whether it's how to do something in PowerPoint or anything like that?